Today I would like to talk about the pillars of joy and how to cultivate joy in one's life. Hello, my name is Mariana. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed, hit that button. The first thing I would like to differentiate is between happiness and joy. Happiness is an emotion. It's not something that we can cultivate into our lives, but it's something that we feel in a specific moment, having the right causes and conditions. And if these causes and conditions go away, then we are not happy and we experience other emotions as sadness, frustration, anger. So it's not something that can be pursued or chased after. Whereas joy is an immeasurable concept that we can actually cultivate and practice, such as love, compassion, and equanimity, because these are things that they don't run out. Like, it's the opposite of, for example, energy or willpower. These are things that we have or we don't. We are tired, we take a nap, we have more energy. So it's something that changes, and this is something that it goes to the infinite. It's like you have a kid and then you have a second kid, and you cannot love the second kid as much as the first. No, you love him even more. So it's something that just multiplies. So joy is not an emotion, it's a state of well-being. It's something that comes from the inside and that we can practice and develop in order to cultivate it inside of ourselves. And it also impacts others. So when we feel joy in a communion, and this doesn't happen with happiness. So the question raises there is how then to cultivate joy in a world of suffering, in a world where people are suffering and that they want to be feeding on this suffering. Another thing about joy is that we cannot fake it until you make it, so either we have it or we don't. So there's only 8 ways that are studied to develop joy in one's life. The first one being perception, the second one being humility, the third one humor, the fourth one, acceptance. The fifth one, forgiveness. The sixth one, gratitude. The seventh one, compassion. And the eighth one, generosity. So starting from the first one, about the concept of perception, is that reality is what reality is. So wherever we feel and think is related to the way we choose to perceive and see reality and the story we tell about the reality that we're facing. I always give this example, but related to COVID-19 and the whole situation that's happening in the world. For example, using the mask, the simple fact that we have to use the mask, we're like, oh, I don't want to use the mask, I cannot breathe, like I cannot see people's faces, this and that. Whereas if we'd be in a situation, for example, you are in Asia, as I used to be, like driving the motorbikes and going behind other cars and all this dust in my face was black, I wish I'd have a mask there. So really, reality is related to how we perceive it and how we choose to see it. So it's not the circumstances, but it's about the situation itself. The second one is humility, which is so important because when we are not humble, we are in this narcissistic view of life that we just think that the world spins around us and we are the most important thing in the world. So when we take this away, we can actually start interacting with others in a way that brings joy, and we can actually learn about ourselves and about the world because we realize that we don't know anything, that we need to actually learn. The third thing would be humor, because wherever we do in life, we cannot be taking things so seriously, because life is not that serious, guys. Even the Buddha, he found a middle way because he realized that you cannot have a very hedonistic view on life. They're very serious because you get nowhere. There's a lot of people that used to ask him how they could get to liberation. And they would say, so if I meditate 1 hour a day, how long will I take to get to enlightenment? And he said 2 weeks. But if I meditate 2 hours, then 1 month. So the time would increase the more they would do it, because they would do it in such a serious way that they would take the fun away from it, and then they would not actually learn. Also, laugh is studied by science as a way to reduce inflammation in the body and to prevent for a lot of diseases that may arise in the human body, so just laugh. The fourth is acceptance, which is our ability to accept life as it is, with all the suffering, with all the conditions that are around us, and not try to change it. which it's very important to mention that this doesn't mean that you should just accept in a way that this leads to defeat or to not trying or to just give up. It's the exact opposite, because I cannot change the circumstances I have now, so I'm going to work with them in order to be better, but accept what I have while I have it, but then still try to improve, constantly improving. An example of these would be trying to search for a misshapen cloud. I heard this in a podcast the other day. I think it's so interesting, because there's no misshapen clouds. All the clouds are perfect in their own way, they are just different. So at the same time, there's no perfect clouds, so there's not one that it's outside of its place. So we just accept clouds as they are. The fifth one is forgiveness. So when we actually accept what we have, we can stop trying to change all the mistakes and everything that happened in the past. And so it's very important to forgive, which doesn't mean that we should not be angry, of course. We have to be angry if someone just doesn't have the right attitude towards us, but we should not hold on to this anger or hatred. There's an expression that I feel that represents this very well, which says that he who angers you controls you. There's another quote that encounters this, which is very long, but basically just says that when you hold hatred towards someone and you go to that person with that hatred, first you grab in the excrement, so you are hurting yourself first before you actually throw it to the other person. The sixth one is on gratitude, which I talk a lot as well, because it's something that we can actually develop into our lives. Because when we understand the concept of interdependence, then we realize that we are interconnected to everything and any living being that lives in these worlds, and so for that we should just be completely grateful for wherever we are and just for the fact that we are here alive and breathing. The seventh one is compassion, which is such a beautiful word, because it's the only concept that actually encompasses all the other concepts in together, because compassion is what you have towards other when you want people to stop their suffering. So it's not just you that want to be free, but when you want to just liberate all beings from suffering. So you want to help yourself by helping others be happy as well. The eighth and last one is generosity, which is so important, because generous people who give to others, like philanthropists, experience higher levels of joy. And there's this thing is that money doesn't buy happiness, which is not true. Money can buy happiness when money is spent on other people. So just think to yourself, can you be involved in any sort of volunteer association? How can you help, even if it's in your own house, with your own people, with your friends? But the more you give, the happier you're gonna be. So yeah, to sum up, perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, generosity, and compassion. These 8 things you can work on in order to develop joy, because joy is something that you can develop into your life, and it's not a fake it until you make it. It's something that is related to all these 8 concepts, and that is the only thing that you should be working on, because you cannot be happy, but you can be joyful, and to yourself and towards others, and just be a better human being in general. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped in any sort of way. I hope that just made you think of the way you interact with yourself and with others, and I hope that you take these practices and you apply them to your daily life. Let me know in the comments down below if this makes sense, what are you doing to develop joy into your life, if you knew that joy and happiness is not the same thing and that you can actually develop joy. And yeah, if you got to this point, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Leave a like if you like this video. Bye!